All right. Good evening. I think it's going to be evening when we put this out. Um, Good evening and welcome back to Speaking of Jazz with the West Michigan Jazz Society. My name is Jordan Van Hemert, and I'm the program director for the West Michigan Jazz Society. And I'm excited to bring you Speaking of Jazz, which features jazz musicians from around not even close to Grand Rapids, Michigan. And today I have a really special person that I'm talking to. His name is Dr. Lee Heerspink. Lee is a wonderful guitar player who has some beginnings um, in music education at Hope College. And then he went on to complete a master's at the University of South Florida. And then he, accepted this job playing guitar with the Heartland Band in Omaha with the United States Air Force. And for those of you who don't know, those gigs are incredibly competitive, and they serve the country in just a myriad of places. And for 4 years, he served as the music director for multiple groups. And that is an honor on top of another honor. It's kind of crazy. After that, he completed coursework at the University of Nebraska at Lincoln and is now Dr. Heerspink, graduating from the university in 2018, 19, one of those. He'll correct me, I'm sure. And then he moved back to West Michigan at the end of 2019, and he's teaching in Hudsonville now. But what I'm here to talk to you about, and what we are here to talk to you about, is Lee's incredible music. Lee has this really interesting combination of being an incredible musician, very technically accomplished, and but also being a super down to earth guy. And that's, I think, one of the things that draws people to him. So, please welcome Lee Heerspink. Hey, Lee, how's it going?
Great, great. Thank you for the wonderful intro. This is it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to have you, and I want to start with perhaps the most recent thing. Um, let's talk about this record that you have out. So Lee recently recorded and has self-released this record called Monsters Impromptu. So first thing, um, man, tell me about this title. What's up with this title?
Yeah, well, I wasn't really sure what we were going to name the collection of tunes that we did in the studio. Um, we kind of were going around with a lot of stuff, but at the core, at the beginning of everything, really, most of the inspiration was kind of popping into my brain while I was watching my. I have two young boys who are 3 and 5 and are full of energy, and they love playing Monster. And so when it was kind of COVID days and everything was a little slower, and I was in the basement writing, I'd come up every day after writing, and the kids would say, did you write the Monster song? And I said, not yet. Didn't write the Monster song. Um, and then finally I got to it, and then it was a long thing. Did you finish the Monster song? Yeah, well, I'm getting close. I don't have an ending yet, but I'm getting there. I knew it had to be epic, and and so finally we finished, and did the studio date, and everything had just this incredible energy and was very playful, and kind of circled back to playtime with the kids, playing Monster with the kids, doing the thing. Um, and so that's what we ended up. That's kind of where we ended up going with the direction of the artwork, obviously, which Tim Pospisil in Grand Rapids did a fantastic job making, and um, ended up kind of going there out. Does that make sense? Oh shoot, I'm losing you.
I'm muted. My bad.
There we
Yeah. So, wow, I haven't made that error in a long time. But anyway, ever since I've known you, you've been a real big family guy, and like that you would name it with inspiration from your kids. It's just, it really says a lot about you, and a lot about what your priorities are. And if you look at the cover, it's just a wonderfully playful cover. So let's talk about the musicians that you have on this record. So it's you. You have the wonderful Caleb Elzinga on saxophone, Jim Alfredson, who is in a class of his own, not only as a Hammond organist, but also as a mixing and mastering engineer. The amazing Dutcher Snedeker on piano and I think on the keyboards maybe. And then one of Grand Rapids' most ubiquitous jazz musicians, Randy Marsh. So how did you come about to choosing this particular group?
Well, when I started writing most of the material, I knew it was going to be a grooving record primarily, and I've been a huge Organissimo fan. I for the past 15 years, and so it was kind of as you were talking about all the places that I've bounced around. I always took their music, Jim and Randy's music, along with me, and would always listen to it. I think actually some of my first licks that I ripped were probably actually from old Organissimo records. So I was really excited to ask them to join up and do it as well. In fact, I was nervous to call them, but I called Randy first, and picked up the phone and called him. I probably sounded like, "Hey, Mr. Randy, this is Lee Heerspink. I'm really a big fan and really excited to that kind of thing." And I left the worst voicemail on Jim's phone. I was shocked that he called me back. So those two guys I really, really wanted on the record. Caleb actually was one of the first ones that I met through the Holland Concert Jazz Orchestra. And so I had made that connection earlier. I had worked with him and Dutcher doing some corporate gigs for Blue Water Kings, and had always really admired what they were doing, even in some of those more corporate kind of settings. I really enjoyed their stuff. I knew they could play, and yeah, I remember having a conversation with Dutcher as well. The two keyboard thing was a little bit. I wasn't sure how that was going to play out, and so I remembered having a conversation too with Dutcher, just saying like, "Do you think there's a sonic space for you with the B3 and then stuff over top?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we can find something." And he did a fantastic job of fitting in there. And once things were set, then I really went back to the charts and I tried to make it so that Jim and Randy were kind of the engine underneath everything, and then songs were featuring Dutcher and Caleb and myself, and sometimes all three of us, kind of scattered throughout the album, which made it fun for variety's sake, I think. If that kind of answers, if that makes sense.
It certainly does. And I've been Googling here your this cover. So I'm gonna share it with them. Okay, everybody. So check this out. This is Lee's album, and if you look at the cover, it's just delightfully playful and whimsical. And this is it on Amazon Music. That's one of the places you can check out this record. But it's one of many. You can find it, I think, on Spotify, YouTube. And I've been told that there are even physical discs that you can buy from the artist directly. So the cover, I think, is very attractive. And it's one of the reasons, that you look at this and you're like, this is a record that I think I want to have some fun with this record. And sure enough, like, you hear it and that's what it is. It's just it's a jam record, and it reminds me not only of those old records by Organissimo, but it also reminds me of a lot of just those fun tracks by Medeski, Schofield, Martin, and Wood. And I used to jam out to those with my college roommates all the time. And so it reminds me of just that atmosphere of like fun. And it's like the record in and of itself is like a hang, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah, I really went back to, okay, well, what were some of the things that initially moved me? Um, and Schofield's work, like in the '90s, um, I think it was, well, A Go Go, Hand Jive. Um, I can't think of it, uh, but what I really did, I was encouraged by a friend too to listen back on some of those albums that really meant the most to me, that I was really excited about when I got started, and just do some really discerned listening, writing down little things, just being very detailed about what made the songs actually work. So it was kind of a, almost like a, there was like a study session going on, trying to figure out, okay, well, sometimes there's these send-offs, or sometimes, uh, just little small things. Oh, the modulations do this, just to keep things fresh, because it's really easy with a jam record too to just stay stagnant, or to to stay on 1 and 4, and just kind of oscillate between the two. And I really, I wanted it to have some forward momentum. I wanted to have harmonies that were interesting. I wanted to do something more than just be on some static harmony, which is kind of funny because the first track is actually kind of, that way, even though there's some extra stuff in there. And I think I think it worked. And I'm also a huge fan of like the Matheny group stuff from the '70s. So I kind of wanted like a marriage of these kind of really cool textures, but also the grooves that went along with Sko's stuff from the '90s when I started listening to it. So that's kind of what was going on in my brain when I was writing, and things were happening. So
That's awesome. A guitar player's record kind of a thing, because thinking about Sko's records and thinking about, thinking about the Matheny group and their stuff, like it's a, like that's, I mean, to me, that's contemporary guitar. And Pat Martino, God rest his soul, was it's like a, to me is just, he's right up in there too. And like guitar players, there's no shortage of somewhere to go when you want to listen to a great guitar record. So yeah, so I'm sick of talking. Let's listen to the record a little bit. I want to listen to this track, which is one of my personal favorites on the record. It's called Preach It, Gary. Can you tell us a little bit about this track and kind of introduce it?
yeah. So I mentioned earlier that I did some, I did some real detailed listening on Sko's old stuff, and I knew that I wanted a song with a call and response kind of thing. I didn't know exactly how to make that work, but so that was kind of the first aspect that I wanted in there. But I knew that I wanted a bridge as well that floated, that would float away a little bit. Um, and again, it kind of has those Matheny-esque textures, but it snaps right back into the groove. So that there was something to go. There was some built-in tension and release going on. So that was really what we ended up doing. I'm trying to think of other things. There's a really fun section in the middle where we jump into like a harmonic minor thing, and Caleb just has open solo section. Randy had a fantastic solo at the very end. And this was the last track that we actually recorded at the end of the day. We only did a couple takes on everything, but we finished and we were like, that was the one. I'm pretty sure that Jim was doing his rock fingers when he finished his solo. As it was pretty epic. It was a pretty epic Hammond solo in there. But you can just tell we were having a great time.
No surprise there. Well, I hope everybody. I'm not going to play the whole thing because you all should go buy the record, and then you can hear the whole thing. But I want to play a little bit of it for people who are not quite as familiar with your work, and then also because, I mean, come on, man, people just need to hear this. Here's Preacher Gary from Monsters Impromptu by Lee Heerspink. Sorry, I know I said I wasn't gonna play the whole thing. I just couldn't stop playing it. Is the thing. Like I was looking for a good place to stop and like fade out and whatever, but I just
I
couldn't
mean,
do it.
nobody plays that Latin funk like Randy Marsh. It just feels so good.
Yeah, it's pretty epic, isn't it? Like what? Like what even? It's so fun. And then Randy's solo was just stupid good. Like that was insane. Like,
Yeah, he reached his leg around to stick his heel
is
into
that
one of the drums.
is that right?
Yeah, you can hear the pitch bending.
Yeah,
So he
yeah, yeah.
actually, he reached his leg around and actually swung it onto his snare drum, I think it
Do you
was.
have
And
video of that? Is there video footage of this?
I don't have. I wish. I just have. I have pictures. My brother-in-law was kind enough to come and take pictures during the session, but we didn't get hardly any video. But it was just, yeah, it was it was pretty
Wow,
pretty
that's
wild.
incredible. That's incredible. Well, that's really cool. Right on. And wow. Go check out that record. So, where can they buy the physical disc? Because I, we talk about streaming all the time as musicians, and maybe we could actually get into that. But what, like, it's much better for people who really want to support your music. It's much better for you if they will just buy the disc. So, where can they purchase this record, Lee?
Well, I'm set up on Bandcamp. So if you just search for Lee Heerspink on Bandcamp. Sorry, hold on. I'm having an earbud issue. One moment, please. There we go. Can you hear me all right? But if you're set up on, you can search for me on Bandcamp. Also, there's a link to the Bandcamp on my website, which is leeheerspink.com. But that's the easiest way to find it. If you search Monsters Impromptu on Bandcamp, that would be fine. Otherwise, if you come to, we have a CD release on Saturday at Listening Room in Grand Rapids, so we'll make sure and have them there and any other places that we're playing. So
that's great. Yeah, a few things. So, first thing, I'm trying to, let's see. First, if you haven't seen Lee's website, it's really cool and really clean. Where is there's a link to Bandcamp, you said, on the website?
Should be. I think there is on the bottom.
All right. Let's check this out here. Is it the same? It's yeah, there it is. Okay, it was the logo that I wasn't used to.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna drop that into the comments for when we have. But I'm gonna create for when we do this. But I'm gonna that's the banner, and you can just here's the link again. You can type in Lee Heerspink and into bandcamp.com and get there. But support art, okay? Like support people who are making music like this. Um, it's all original compositions, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
support that, man. Support people who are making original art and original music. It's $10 for the CD and $7 for the digital album. Now, I want you to think about the last cup of coffee you bought and whether or not it was some latte from Starbucks and how much you paid for said latte. So, with tax, what were you paying for? You could buy this record and support Lee and his amazing music and his super cool family. You could go you could put it into that, and it would be a really cheap investment. And you know what, it makes a big difference in the lives of musicians who are creating this stuff. So I'll pop that into the comments when we actually have the show airing. But you know what, it's so
yeah.
important to support musicians. And let's talk about streaming for a second. Okay,
Mhm.
personally, I have a love-hate relationship with Spotify.
Right.
Yeah, my record and my new single are on Spotify, but I do that because it's like, yeah, I guess people should be able to like access the music, but what's Spotify doing for artists? Like what is Spotify doing? How much money are you going to make from Spotify, with a payout?
Yeah, it's pretty abysmal. But the best it is these days is a glorified business card. Because yeah, you're not gonna make anything off of it, but it's almost a necessary. I don't know if it is a necessary evil or not, but um, it's important to get heard. But at the same time, yeah, it's tough. If you listen to it a couple times and you really like it, then and you should always consider supporting the people that made it through something else. But it's Bandcamp. Bandcamp's really great.
Yeah,
Um,
Bandcamp is a fantastic, model that's artist centered. And here's the
mhm.
thing, like you and I know that being a professional musician is hard, especially when you've got a family and you've got like expenses that are adding up, the same expenses as everybody else. And if
Yeah,
if the musicians, we think in terms of active and passive income streams, right? So when
yep.
we talk about an active income stream that's playing gigs, like, hold on one second, like Lee's amazing CD release concert that he's going to have. Everybody, come on, man. I'm trying to share this screen. It's just being a real bugger. Um, Finally, yeah. So go buy tickets. This is at listeningroomgr.com. And you can go and you can hear all about Lee's thing. Look, man, 7:30, doors open at 6. Get in there, bust that place down. Like, look, you support local musicians because you know what? Um, Let me tell you what, your nationally touring favorites are great, and it's great that Listening Room had what, Terrence Blanchard in there.
I
That's
think coming up
awesome.
in like a week. Yeah, it's amazing.
A week, yeah, that's awesome. But you know what? Lee is located in Hudsonville, and he can give guitar lessons to your kids. He can like come and play your corporate party or whatever. He can do all this stuff. He can play your wedding if you want him to. And you know what, man? Local musicians are the ones who are the kind of who are investing in that local economy, who are going out to all your businesses and patronizing your businesses. So you should support them too. And I'm sorry to get on a soapbox, but you got to go out and hang with these people, and you got to go out and buy their records. So for $7 or $10, you can buy Lee's album. It'll be amazing. I'm going to stop talking. I apologize for
No, hey,
being
yeah,
on a soapbox.
it's good. It's good. No, but we put a lot. I mean, that's the thing that nobody tells you about too, is just how much work's involved with putting out a record. And it was such a great process. I actually do work. Uh, I do meet with. I have a mentor actually that I meet with every few months, 3 or 4 months. I meet with Corey Chris Jansen, and who's helped me guide me through this process. But boy, it's a climb to get that thing over the mountain. And I've had a lot of advice from Randy and Jim did a fantastic job mixing and mastering, and but it's an incredible amount of work. Um, so so yeah, get out there and hopefully, support some live music, but also the record, and just go have a great time, because not only is the music great, but it's a good hang. All the guys in the band are just such down to earth, wonderful people, and Jordan, you know all of them. Um, that we just,
I
yeah,
do
I
know
mean,
all of them.
that's the goal for us too. I mean, we want to play this live. We want to do this for people, and just kind of uh, brighten your day, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Now let's keep talking about how hard it is, to cut a record and what goes into the process. For me, when I cut my first record, I was like, cool, so I'm gonna do this thing. And then once I cut it, like the album and the mixing was done, I was like, cool, now we're done, right? And it's like, no, no, you're not.
Yes.
You gotta master that thing. And then once it was mastered, I was like, cool, we're done, right? And it was like, no, no, now you got to promote that thing and get the album art together. So, can you tell me about what were some of the really like unanticipated things? Because we all think about making records, and we're like musicians. Who knew? We're really focused on the music.
Yeah. So what were some of the unknowns? Well, I was so laser focused, as I'm sure you were too, on the music, and just making sure that we got something worth putting out there. So yeah, there was kind of a moment after the studio date when you said, and you're like, wow, okay, we really got something special there. And then it's like, okay, well then what, Um, and I was really thankful to have such professionals like Jim and Randy to kind of provide advice and say, here's what I would do. This is the direction I would go. Um, I would definitely say, the most baffling thing was the radio and the promotion kind of aspect of things, which I'm really happy that Lisa Reedy is taking care of. Um, uh, all of the radio promotion stuff, and she's done a fantastic job. So,
Yeah, let's
um,
talk about that for a second. Let's talk about that.
yeah,
Let's just pause there because let uh so if you want to get your album heard on the radio, right? Because radio is still a thing. People listen to radio.
yeah.
Like what? So what do? You just send it out there? No. What does a radio promoter do? And perhaps what are you looking at in terms of like why make that investment? Like why get it out there? What's important about that?
Um, well, I've heard it called that, they're a type of gatekeeper as well, where they have relationships with DJs, they have relationships with stations, they they get things out, to the stations, and then also follow up and make sure that they've checked it out, because they get hundreds and hundreds of CDs every month. And so it's really easy for these, CDs to just kind of get to the bottom of the stack, and then, somebody needs to remind them that, hey, this record's out, it's doing really well, you need to check it out. So I have somebody doing that, and there's hundreds of radio stations out there. So I mean, for a person like me who wants to get as little kids and we're running around, I have 40 plus students a week, gigging on the weekend. I just don't have the time to circle back to all of the radio stations and make phone calls and do all of the legwork, because it is a lot of work. Um, but that's what radio promoters do. They just kind of keep up with things. They make sure things are going. Um, yeah, and that's also, if you get a good one too, like Lisa's been sending things out for print, so making sure that we get some reviews, and we've gotten some good ones. So that's the other side of it.
Yeah, I saw a great review by I think Jack Bowers and All About Jazz.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's his
cool.
name. But yeah, just a really great review. And it's cool that you're getting some headway with that. And then I'll comment and kind of I'll tag Lisa because she's been doing some great work on your record, and I was so thrilled to see that your record a few weeks ago, right, was like what like plus something and right next to like under Joey D's record.
No, yeah,
Wh-
yeah. Well, it's yeah, for radio ads, it was doing really well. And then I think it was last week we hit 12 on the NACC chart, which was fantastic and unexpected. So she's really doing a fantastic job.
Awesome. That's great. Well,
Mhm.
right on, Lisa. Good on you. And thanks for working hard for our boy over here. He's just you're doing some really cool stuff, Lee. Now that we've kind of talked about the project, I want to dial back a little bit and talk about you. Um, when did you start playing guitar and like why? I mean, I know every kid wants to play guitar, right? The
Yeah,
guitar is like it's very much in vogue, and so hence the 40 plus students that you have every week. Uh, but
right.
but how did you get into the guitar? Like how did the guitar find Lee or vice versa?
Good question. Yeah, I was originally when I started, I was a classical pianist. I started in kindergarten and I kept going. I had a fantastic teacher in West Michigan, and I kept going till eighth grade. I was doing some really complicated stuff, but it, I don't know. I just wasn't feeling drawn to the classical route, and so my dad said, "Well, let's get him a guitar and just see what he can do." My dad played a little bit. He taught me a couple chords, and and so I started taking guitar lessons in eighth or ninth grade, and just the normal stuff that most people, kind of get started with, singing and playing and doing pop, folk, rock kind of stuff, and yeah, and I think that carried through. I was actually an upright bass major for my first couple of years at Hope College, because I played in the orchestra as well. But I still had this draw to the guitar, and I actually did a summer camp at Berklee College of Music for a couple of months, and realized just how deep the rabbit hole went with the guitar and what you could do with it. And I was drawn to the fact that people from all over the world could just get together and get into a room and instantly start playing music through jazz and through improvisation. And I, I wasn't there yet. I didn't have the chops, but I knew that I wanted to be one of those people, and I wanted to be versatile enough to do that. And so I switched my major when I got back to Hope and started going down that avenue.
That's too cool. Yeah, yeah. It is like an incredibly miraculous thing, right? You can be in a room with people you don't even know, and you're playing like really high level stuff. It's so cool.
It
Um,
is, yeah. I mean, it's like you're having a conversation with people that you have you just don't know at all, and it's wonderful and it's beautiful. And I just remembered I wasn't there at that time, but I just remembered thinking, wow, I want that. I want to be able to do that. I never like set out to be a jazz guitarist, but I wanted to be proficient, and I wanted to start speaking, in that manner, and it was just kind of a natural thing.
yeah, that's awesome. So tell me about so you have I think a really interesting career like as a performer and working with as a musician with the Blue Water Kings, doing lessons and still balancing this record and your wife and your family. Can you tell me about how do you make that all work? Because that's a lot of stuff to balance, and having a career and having no, I'm serious. Like it's a lot, and like I think that there are a lot of people out there who have this perception of professional musicians that we got to go on the road and we got to tour and leave our families behind for like months and weeks on end and everything, and so how do you make that work?
That's a great question too. Uh, it's tough. It's really tough, and it's a huge balancing act. Huge shout out to my wife for putting up with me for the last 6 months of the craziest wedding season, and at the same time, putting a record out. At has has just been bananas. So sometimes things kind of shift back and forth with who's really helping. But one of the big things for me was being gone and coming back to West Michigan. It's been a huge help, being closer to grandparents. So that's been a huge, huge thing. Um, when they can come in and swoop in if I like when I was doing recording or playing a gig. And then also my wife has been picking up slack left and right, while I've been recording, working, doing these kind of things, paying for the album. Um, but it's yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty tricky. And really, the nice thing about being, self-employed is that if there is something that's not working, you can tweak it. I will say that. Traditionally the musician's hours are pretty tough because it's in the evenings, whether you're teaching or if you're gigging. But you can find, there's some ways around that, or you can just tweak things to make things a little more suitable for your purpose. But it does take a lot of understanding on family. They need to understand what daddy does, and what are the things. So yeah, it's a lot, but it's been good. So
So then follow up question: if it's so hard, why do it? What makes it worth doing to you? And that's not a facetious question at all. Like I know at sometimes in our careers, as musicians, there are times when it's like, man, I would just rather give up if it's going to be this hard. Like there are times, I don't know if you get this way, but I've gotten this way for sure. Like, I've been like, man, this is a really rough career. Am I still 100% sure that I really want to do this? And every single time I've asked myself that question, it's been yes, a resounding yes. I want to do this, and this is something that's worthwhile. It's good to put art in the world. But what is your why, Lee? Like why what keeps you going, and what, like, why do you, if this is going to be so hard and so like tumultuous, why keep doing it if it's going to be such a hard balancing act? What makes it worth it to you?
that's a I mean, just you could easily do the blanket. I love music that much, but I think it's something much further than that. I feel um, I feel like I've been given a gift as far as the talents and the things that I can do, and I just love sharing that. And I love doing that in a jazz sense. I love doing that. I mean, goodness, how many people did I help get married this summer? Holy cow! It was a lot. But and it's I I sing as well, and to be able to do those kind of things, and you can just see people's reactions, and you can see um, how you brighten someone's day, and make it better. And I think now more than ever, I've witnessed just like the- I don't know, the joy that music can bring. Um, and these are such crazy times that I think that's probably why I've uh, you know doubled down. That I think this is something that brings us together. This is something that is special, and it's worth celebrating, and it's worth coming together to just enjoy it. Just it's a gift. It's a wonderful thing, and I want to keep doing it. I want to keep giving it to people, whether it's in the teaching or the playing.
That's a really beautiful sentiment, and it's a really great place for us to be ending our conversation. Very apropos. Music, has always been that thing, though, that brings us together, that brings multiple people around the same, in this case, table or concert hall or what have you, or club, or wherever you hear music. The most recent and one of the most meaningful gigs that I just played was in a church basement, and we were just hanging out. And it was after dinner, and it was after the gig. It was at the after party, and we started, hanging out and playing together. And it was so meaningful to bring people together through music like that. So I think that when you have something that special, it's like, yeah, keep sharing. And Lee, I've known you for a while, and that's kind of how you are. It's like, I want to share this. So I invite all of you to go out and check out Lee's album, Monsters Impromptu, on Bandcamp. Again, I'll be commenting with the link when this thing actually goes live. But then the other thing that I would invite you all to do is go hang on November 13. That's Saturday at the Listening Room in GR for the CD release show, and celebrate, share in the joy. Because I think now more than ever, we really, really need to be sharing in that joy. And, I just think that you're going to have a great time with Lee hanging out and with his band. So, Lee, thank you again so much for being a guest on the program. Who am I? What am I? What is this?
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and hanging out. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best with your record. I can't wait to spin my copy again.
Thank you so much, Jordan. I really appreciate it. This was a joy to get to talk about all this stuff. So thank you.
Absolutely. Have a great night, everybody, and we will see